Hello everyone out there in Tarot Tube land. This is Lucy coming to you from the Seaside Channel in by the sea. Now today I thought I'd show you my top 5 Oracle decks from 2021. These are the decks that oracles I used with my tarot, and I showed my tarot reading cards last week, so I thought I'd show you my oracle cards that I used with those tarot. When I read tarot, I like to have a clarification with an oracle either at the beginning or at the end of the reading. And let's start. So the first deck is the Morning Calm Oracle. It's a Korean oracle. Well, it was printed in China, but it's copyrighted to C.O. Kelleher, Alpha Sisters Publishing in 2020. And I bought it last year, so it's new to me. And it was illustrated by Alodia Yap, designed by Sarah Sorry, I'm butchering this, I know. And edited by E.C. Miller. So if you want to read, you can see. And it's a nice little oracle. It's an indie published deck. The cardstock is lovely. It's not too matte and it's not glossy. It's in between, just nice. Not too thick. And there has little messages and an affirmation at the bottom for each card. So let's have a look at the cards. So it has a system, but I won't go into that here unless you want me to. I particularly enjoyed this deck when I was when I was studying the Hoodoo Guru Tarot. The Hoodoo Tarot. I call it the Hoodoo Guru Tarot. Because it helped me to connect to my ancestors, or the ancestors of the people I was reading. So you can see that there's different elements with different colored card backs. And I particularly was drawn to this card because, as it was pointed out in the tarot group that I was working in, that hyacinth is a flower that we have flowering here in August, and I got married in August and I had hyacinths on my wedding cake. So that meant to me that, and this looks very like me when I was 21, that to me indicated that my husband was giving me a message when that card came up, particularly with forgiveness. He gave me a message to say, please forgive him for all that he did. So that was a very important study group that I was in mid-year. Highly recommend study groups. You learn your decks really well. The next oracle that I want to talk about is the Tulku Oracle. Now, I haven't used it as much as the last one, but I have enjoyed using it. It's got a nice box protecting sheath around the cards, and it says there are little oracles everywhere. Well, we're all little oracles, aren't we? So these cards are absolutely gorgeous. Again, they're not glossy, they're matte, and they're very much into the Eastern mysticism. philosophy. A lot of them you see in yoga terms, but the colours are gorgeous in this deck, absolutely gorgeous. And what's great about this particular deck is the guidebook. I do like a good guidebook, a big chunky meaty guidebook, and that's what we've got here with the Taluka Oracle. So let's pull one. Oh, this is a Tibetan symbol. Double Georgie. Protected I am, powerful I am, full of integrity I am. The element is metal, clarity and discernment, strong and brilliant. The symbol is a Tibetan word meaning noble stone or thunderbolt. So then it goes into the symbol, then it goes into the oracle. So for this particular card, your personal strength and courage are being heralded. You are moving forward on your life path. So it goes into the actual oracle. If the card's reversed, it has a reverse meaning. And then it has a teaching. The teaching in this card is about the power and integrity that is born from the courageous and the committed discipline of daring to know yourself. So it goes on with the teaching. This is all for one card. We've got 1, 2, 3 pages on that particular card. So a lot of work has gone into this oracle, and its creator was on Kickstarter last year, I think, last year or the year before. The creator, Carla Refoxo, says, I weave my way through the world as an artist, a dream tender, oracle reader, sacred jewelry designer, a plant spirit medicine healer. These are all passions that move me deeply from the inside out, and over the years I've found a way to mix all of these modalities up into an offering to share with others. The Taluka Oracle deck represents accumulation of years of synthesizing my learning into a visual and written form so that it can bring healing and guidance to others as well. So I still think you can buy this from her website, and it has an intro here about the oracle. So that was sent to me last year, and my other indie deck, oracle deck, was one after doing the Ancestors Challenge. I started delving deep with the Ancestor book. I haven't got it here, so I can't tell you the name of the author, but Ancestral Tarot it's called. And so I was told about this particular oracle because I started going down the Celtic rabbit hole, finding caillleach decks, and I was told about this particular oracle from Ireland. A lady in Ireland by the name of Jane Bryson independently published this deck, The Wisdom of the Caillaleach, and it's an oracle and journey with an old woman of Ireland by Jane Bryson. This was the second edition in 2020, but I picked it up mid last year when I started picking up some caillaleach decks. So this has been spot on too. I've used this on people in our community here in Australia, and they've found it quite emotional, this particular oracle. So this was a nice card to use. I tend to pull with this one, I tend to pull it first and then I'll pull 3 card reading afterwards and see if I can connect to someone in spirit who wants to pass on a message. Isn't that lovely? Look at this. She's knitting the world, her Celtic world in the pattern. The well. So that's another lovely deck that I received last year. And I still use it to this day. I still use it for readings with people that I don't know. The other two, I'm going to class this as one because it's Seasons of the Witch 1 and 2. And I've already pre-ordered Beltane. Now these 2 decks, I use this in Samhain and I use this during the Northern Yule, Christmas Yule. Even though we were in Beltane here and we're in summertime here. But this one I used with the Dark Woods and the Gothic tarots for Halloween, and it was very enjoyable. I enjoyed this deck, and everyone's probably seen it and sick and tired of looking at this one, but I love the artist depictions. I don't read too much on the bottom, but the guidebook is good on this deck as well. The guidebook's been spot on for me and others. I thought that these images were very represented Halloween particularly well. So that was deck 1. And with the Yule deck, I actually gave that as Christmas presents to people, and said they could open their present 12 days before Christmas, and we would do, instead of doing an advent calendar, we would pull a card for each of the 12 days. And that was fun. There was 3 of us doing that. And every morning we'd all do our card. We don't live in the same vicinity. We live nearly 1,000 miles apart. But we were able to do this every morning. And this was for Christmas, Advent. And again, the guidebook for all 3 of us was very good. So these decks were illustrated by Gaida Rose, and the guidebooks were written by Lorianne Anderson and Juliet Diaz. So I had fun with this deck with my friends, and it helped us to stay together over Christmas. It made Christmas actually, having the pulls each morning made it very exciting leading up to Christmas. I had a lovely Christmas this year. It's the first in about 5 years, 6 years, maybe more, maybe even longer. So it was a nice Christmas. So that was a mass market. Their mass market decks easily picked up, and Beltane's coming out. The Season of the Witch Beltane Oracle. So I'm looking forward to that in the northern spring, which will be our autumn. Now my most used oracle is this one, and it's still my favorite. I haven't had a chance to use it this year, but it was my most used for 2021. And the reason I use this one a lot is This wasn't in a Kickstarter deck, but it's been picked up by Blue Angel, and it's created by Claudia Olivas. And the reason I enjoyed this deck is because of the guidebook once again. You've got to have a good guidebook for the oracle, otherwise you're making up your own oracle, which is good. Some people are good at that. I'm not so good. I need a good chunky guidebook. I need a chunky good guidebook. So the guidebook, what the guidebook did for me was when I drew a card, I would look up. So for instance, Isis, sacred unions and relationships. So the guidebook goes into describing the card, gives the Isis message, tells you how to call Isis into your life, and gives you activities and rituals that you can connect to Isis energy. And then it gives you a spread. So this is what I used. I used the spread from the oracle for my daily readings when I was using this particular oracle. So for Isis, the spread for relationships, what is hiding in plain sight? So I drew a card for that. What needs to be nurtured? Again, another card. What does the other person need? And what will the outcome be? So just 4 cards, didn't take long. And then it goes on and says how to create an altar for Isis, what to put on the altar, what incense and scents to use, and what stones and crystals to use as well. So I kept getting Kaylee and her readings. Cailleach spread for beginning and endings. What aspect of my life shall I address in terms of beginning and ending something? What can I do to help myself through this process? Who is supporting me? So this is a great oracle when the client or your querent doesn't know what question to ask the cards. You can pull one of these oracle cards and then look up the spread to see what they need to know. So I found that very easy to use, pretty for the client or the querent, and still my favorite oracle. So that's my 5 oracles. We have Sacred Mothers and Goddess, and that was published in 2021, last year. So that was by Blue Angel. Then we have the Seasons of the Witch, which you can get at any bookstore. Then you have the Taluka Oracle, which you can go to Carla Refaxo website for that one. And then we have the Morning Calm, and that was being sold by Enchanted Gypsy here in Australia. I'm not sure where you can buy it overseas, but I'm sure if you Google it, you'll find it. And lastly, Wisdom of the Caillieach, and this was the 2nd edition, which is now out of print. But I believe she's going to run another print, and that's from Jane Bridson in Ireland. So thank you everyone. Goodbye.